still on our trip, and my tooth came out.
Yay!
And today we will be making cheese, but not any ordinary cheese. Some of you guys might be vegan and can't eat the milk or anything like that. So we're going to make fake cheese with my mother, who's great at making that.
Thank you so much, Anaya. Yeah, so we are making cheese for mac and cheese.
Yum!
Cheese. And we are going to be using butternut squash to make this cheese. So this is a wonderful cheese to make that we are only going to need a high-speed blender for with the rest of the ingredients and an oven to bake the butternut squash. Now, if you don't have a high-speed blender and you have a regular blender or a food processor, we'll talk about how you can use one of those instead of this. But this is going to be essential for blending parts of the sauce together. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is actually prepare the butternut squash. Now, these squashes are great. You can find them in the store. I recommend buying organic because we'll talk about that once the squash is baking. But when we are cutting the squash, you want to cut off the ends.
Can I cut it?
You know what? I'm going to let you cut a little later, but this is a really hard thing to cut, and these knives are a little slippery. So I want to, usually we have our knives, but in a place like this, it's a little more difficult. But I really appreciate you wanting to cut. And she is so good with knives that she can normally do such a thing like this. But these knives are not what I would call my regular chef's knife.
Well,
Okay.
It comes from growing up with a mommy who's great at cooking.
Oh, thank you so much, baby girl. You're so sweet. So we're going to cut this butternut squash in half. Now, this is about a, medium-sized butternut squash. They can come very large, but this is what we're going to use for this. I'd say this is probably, about 3 pounds or so, but that's a guesstimate. So what we're going to do is just cut off the ends and then cut it in half. And we're going to take the seeds out and we're going to put it into a bowl. Now, if you know anything about me and cooking with butternut squash, if you've seen some of my previous videos or seen me cook in various places, you know that I like to reduce food waste. And some of the ways that I do it is by using as much of the vegetable parts as we can. So the butternut squash seeds are really good because one thing that you can do is you can roast them and you can dry them so that they're like pumpkin seeds. It's quite amazing to have them like pumpkin seeds because they will, they actually have a similar but different nutritional profile than pumpkin seeds. I actually find them easier to eat. So they're really nice roasted and salted the same way you would do pumpkin seeds. Rub them with a little oil, put them in the oven for about 350 degrees, sprinkle them with salt or whatever flavoring you want. Really, really nice. Well, that was a nice sprinkle. That was a healthy sprinkle dash right there, huh? So the other thing that you can do with butternut squash seeds is you can dry them out. Just, wash it so all the pulp, the fiber is gone. And then you can dry them out and you can plant them and you can grow them. So we've been growing butternut squash in small pots. And we have yielded some great butternut squash that are big and giant. Sometimes we have little tiny ones. This is a little tiny one I brought from home.
It's so tiny.
It's so tiny. But I'll tell you, even these tiny ones have so much flavor and they're really great. So you can utilize them even if they're growing this tiny, but we've had some large ones too. This one was store-bought because this is what we had. So now, the other thing that we're going to do with these parts here, like the ends of it, is that I'm going to put this into a Ziploc bag. And as you can see, I have parts of other vegetables in here. There's the zucchini tops and bottoms. There's asparagus bottoms. There are garlic shells and skins. There's also onion and garlic shells. Onion skins. So when you put these things into a bag like this, what I do is when this bag is, a little bit full and it's towards the end of the week, what I do is I put it into a pot with some water and I then allow it to boil and I'm making my own vegetable broth. And we're going to be using vegetable broth in this, and we can talk about other options. This is just an old bottle, but this broth had some beet in it, so that's why it's pink or orange, red, depending on the color that you see and the light that you see it in. But we'll talk about that as well. So first, the thing that we need to do is get this butternut squash into the oven. Did you want to say something?
That bag over there, I think it's called soup stock.
It is right. I call it a soup stock, vegetable broth, exactly. So I'm going to just clean out this spoon. So typically I like to use, a coconut oil spray that I have. We are away, as my daughter said, we're on a work away from home. I don't want to call it a vacation. It's a different kind of staycation. If we're going to be quarantined, it might as well be quarantined in nature. But we got snowed in. And if you want to see a picture of the snow, let's show a picture of the snow right now.
Yeah, and the best part is you can eat snow water.
Yes, you can eat snow water.
For the video, my dad had to go and I asked him to bring a snowball that I can eat.
She has been eating snow. It's fresh snow water here in the mountains. It's really beautiful. There's probably a lot less of the air pollutants that we would get in other parts of the world, especially where we live, like Los Angeles. And there's less things like glyphosate and all these things in the air, which we will talk about in a moment. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to oil this coconut up. Like I said, I typically like to use a spray, but I'm just going to use my hands. There's nothing wrong with getting involved, getting in touch with your food. So do you want to open up the oven for me?
Of course. I'm not touching that. Never again.
All right. Okay, so we preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and now this butternut squash is baking. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other ingredients that go into this, and I'm just going to take a moment to wash my hands because I have all the coconut oil on it. Okay, so let's talk about a few ingredients that go into this recipe while the butternut squash is baking. So that's baking at 350 degrees. It's going to take about 45 minutes to an hour depending on the size of your squash. And you want to just make sure that it's fully cooked through because that's going to make it easier to puree. So some of the things that go into this are going to be things that I wouldn't necessarily be able to find out here in the mountains. Well, we have a little local mart that we can walk to. I mean, we are in knee-deep snow right now. It's been really pleasant, but I'm really glad that I packed all the things that we needed. And I didn't do this anticipating snow. Actually, the snow is a surprise to us. As you can see, I was not prepared for snow. But, we are, on a trip somewhere. And just because we're on a trip and I believe in maintaining my diet. And when I say the word diet, I don't mean that I'm on a restriction of any sort, but this is the food that I eat in my normal life. This is my normal diet. This is how I eat every day. And we have this concept that when we go on vacation that we can quote unquote cheat on our diet. Now, it's interesting that we use the word cheat for food, but we would not allow the word cheat in any other part of our life. If somebody told you they cheated on their partner or that, that they, who was your friend, you would have a problem with that. If somebody said that they cheated on their exam, this would not be accepted. So I don't like using this word cheat because it then is saying that we are not treating ourselves with the respect that we deserve. We are eating the food that our body needs because this is what keeps us healthy. I'm sure you're here looking for a vegan mac and cheese recipe because you're interested in your own health. And so rather than say you're cheating, if you decide to go on vacation and you're just going to eat off of your normal meal plan, whatever it is that your body likes and needs, and this is the food that you want to enjoy, then say that this is the food that I am going to eat and I am going to enjoy it. It's not a problem if you want to go enjoy those things that you don't normally eat in your everyday life. But rather than use the word cheat, just allow yourself the self-respect to enjoy that food and let your body incorporate that food however it will. And it will be much better with a better energetic vibration than if you said something like, this is not what I would normally eat, and therefore I'm allowing myself this, and use it in a negative connotation. We put that negative energy into us. So for this trip, I prepared by bringing all the things that we needed. And that included the things that I was going to need, like my Vitamix. And so for this, we are using some nuts. Now, typically, we use
Cashews.
Cashews.
She forgot it.
I forgot the cashews. Now you want you want a high-speed blender because this recipe includes nuts. And so the cashews would need to be blended down really well in order to make a nice creamy sauce. So now that I don't have cashews, I was trying to think of what else could I do. Now there's easy substitutes that you can do. Luckily, I brought walnuts with us. Walnuts are great too because they are high in fat as well. We want that fatty, creamy texture, and walnuts will actually give it to us. You can also use things like pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds. These are substitutes as well if you don't like cashews, or if you can't eat cashews, or if you're like me and just don't have cashews with you. So these have been soaked in hot water for about 30 to 40 minutes. Now, if you have the chance, I would just recommend putting them in water, letting them soak for about 2 hours. But what I did here was I boiled water and then just put it on top, and they've been soaking for about 20 to 30 minutes. So what I'll do now is I will drain these cashews and put them into the blender. But I'm going to do that when the butternut squash is ready, just to give them some extra, I'm sorry, I said cashews, these are walnuts. I will drain these walnuts and I will put them into the Vitamix. And I'll do this when the butternut squash is out and it's ready, because why not just give them extra time to soak and soften up. So some of the other things that go in here. Do you know some of the other things that go into this vegan mac and cheese?
No.
Okay. So the other ingredients that I was really good. So when I travel, I like to just pack everything that I need in like I have these little containers here, which are really great. I also use a lot of Ziploc bags. So like I don't like to travel with my entire spice cabinet, and I just bring the things that I need. So some of the things that I knew I was going to make this butternut squash. And so I brought some onion powder. So
it has a hole. It has a hole.
It has a hole?
Some just leaked out.
Oh, well that's good that we're using it right now, right? So this is about, we're going to use about a teaspoon of onion powder. So I'm gonna, I had put it a little bit more than a teaspoon in here. And you wanna hold this for me? And I'm gonna put this here. All right. And when I cook, I use approximations. Like, I'm gonna give you exact numbers here that you can use. But really, cooking should just be about playing with the food and getting in touch with the food. So you can do whatever it is you want. You need more onion powder, use more. You need less, use less. It's going to come down to your taste. The other thing that we're going to have in here and that we're going to need are some garlic cloves. Let me find those. All right. Garlic cloves. So remember before, I saved some of these garlic peels for
a soup stuff.
That's right. So I'm just going to smash these open. I don't need to cut these because they're going to get blended. So I have 2 garlic cloves. So far we have 1 teaspoon of onion powder and 2 garlic cloves. You going to peel that off?
Yeah, it looks so tasty.
Tasty. You like garlic.
I love garlic.
All right, so this goes into my bag. Garlic peels, onion peels, all of these things, all the parts of the vegetable that we throw away actually have a lot of nutrition. And it's really good to go into, like I said, to making a vegetable broth. Okay, so now, do you have something to say?
Can I wash my hands?
Oh yeah, please go wash your hands. Okay, so now we also have the juice of a small lemon. So this lemon's about this size here, and I juiced about half of it, and I have about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now, you really don't need that much acid in here. I'm only gonna pour a little bit into here. And, if you don't have lemon or, some sort of acid, you can also use apple cider vinegar. Now, typically I use apple cider vinegar for this recipe. I didn't bring any with me. And, if I use apple cider vinegar, I use about a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. It's going to be a little stronger than a fresh lemon, but it also has a lot of nutrition and potency and good health, and this is going to really brighten it up. Now, as I said, what you want to do is after you blend this, you want to then adjust for seasoning. You might need a little bit more apple cider vinegar or lemon. You might need a little bit more salt. You might need a little bit more onion powder. Play with it. You're going to be doing this according to your taste. One of the main ingredients in this recipe is, if I can get it, it's always interesting working in a kitchen that's not your own, right? It can be a little tougher. Is Dijon mustard, something else I brought with me. So for the Dijon mustard, we are using 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Now, this is going to give it a nice flavor. You don't want to use regular mustard. You can try regular mustard. That's going to be a little sweeter. Dijon has a more vinegary taste to it. This is creating that flavor that we want. And what we're creating is that creamy mac and cheese, that really beautiful creamy texture. It's going to have a really strong flavor profile. And you're going to put this over elbow noodles, pasta, and you're not going to miss cheese because this is going to feel so good in your body. It's going to taste so good. And you can eat as much of it and know that you're giving yourself this proper nutrition. So Dijon mustard, lemon, onion powder, and we're going to use nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is every vegan's best friend because it contains a lot of the B vitamins that we need, especially B12. And nutritional yeast is going to give it that cheesy flavor. This is essential in this recipe. This is really what's going to bring out that flavor that you're looking for in a mac and cheese. All right. Now it's going to be 2 to 4 tablespoons depending on the taste that you want. Let's start by putting in, I know what we like. Let's do 3.
Okay.
1.
I bake this? I bake this?
Yeah, I think so. It's really interesting. She is not a fan of mac and cheese because she does not like
cheese, but it's really interesting because my dad is French and he is a cheese monster.
Yeah. So I am vegan and my husband and daughter are omnivores, but I find it very interesting because she actually, and I'm really grateful for this, but she never took to any dairy. And so, she is, resisted things like mac and cheese. And I'm really grateful because they've served it to her at friends' houses or at schools, and she's never really been into it. So maybe one day when she is willing to try this vegan mac and cheese, she might find something else that she likes. But it's that cheesiness that she's not too keen on. But I will tell you, I have fed this to other kids, and they like it.
Wait, you have?
Mm-hmm.
On my birthday? Wait, because on my birthday, I think there was mac and cheese.
I made both. With cheese and without cheese. And the without cheese one was actually gone faster and nobody realized that there wasn't real cheese in there. Because they really liked the creaminess of it.
Serve that instead of both.
All right, so now we have in here lemon juice, nutritional yeast. We're gonna add a little bit of salt. And we're going to add some of the broth. Yes, you can add some salt. So let's use it from here. So I'm using Himalayan pink salt, and we're going to add in a teaspoon.
A teaspoonful?
Let's do a half a teaspoon, actually. We're just going to do it for, yeah, like that. And then we can add more salt as we need it later. And finally, we're going to use some broth, as I said. Now, I made my own homemade broth using all these kind of ingredients here. Anytime, especially when we're away. Now that we're snowed in, especially, because I don't know what food we're going to have left by the end of the week. So I'm really grateful that, I've been saving everything from the beginning before it even started snowing, because that way, I get to make my broth, and all we need is some rice and some pasta. We're probably going to run out of vegetables by the end of the week, but we're doing our best, but I'll at least get the nutrition from the vegetable broth. Now, if you don't make your own vegetable broth, that's totally fine. You can buy vegetable broth. This was actually here, which was wonderful. But you can buy vegetable broth, and you can also use bouillon. So bouillon is a dried form of vegetable broth, and all you do is add some water to it. And so there are different varieties. I do suggest, though, when you buy anything pre-made, you read the labels, because you want to make sure that they don't have any extra things in them. This looks really good. It's organic. That's really good. And, it has mostly just whole foods in here with some oils. But, it's water, onions, carrots, celery, things like that. This is the same thing. It's just the vegetables without any additives, without any preservatives, and especially without any sugar. All right. Okay, so we're going to add about 2 cups of vegetable broth.
That my mommy made?
That I
Yeah, that's
made.
definitely pink.
Yeah, it's pink. It's pink from the beet that was in there. So that's roughly about 1.5 cups. I'm going to adjust because I want to see how these walnuts turn out. I'm used to doing the cashews. Now I'm going to go drain these walnuts and we'll add them in. Now, if we add in these walnuts, we're going to now just give it a quick blend.
Now?
Yes. I may go give this a quick blend, and we're just going to break this up. Now, the reason I said before we want a high-speed blender is to break up the nuts. Let's say you don't have a high-speed blender, and maybe your food processor or your other blender you don't believe can break up nuts, although a food processor should be able to do so. You can use things like cashew butter.
Mom,
Cashew butter is a replacement for the actual cashews.
all the way to 10?
Yes, but start off slow.
I know.
Okay, don't put that so there you go. Okay, so this is going to blend, and then it's going to make into a nice paste that we're going to add in the butternut squash. Once the butternut squash is baked, we will be back.
Hi everyone, welcome back. As you can see, the butternut squash is nice and good. This has broken down to a pure liquid. The mustard is no longer gooey. The walnuts are no longer hard and walnutty.
That's right, it's like a pure liquid soup. How does it smell?
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's nice. That is the garlic, the mustard, the lemon. It smells really good. And it's just a completely pure liquid. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the butternut squash to it.
Wait,
So this cooked. Do you have a question?
yeah, do we dip it in or do we pour that out?
No. We're going to add in the flesh of the butternut squash into this liquid. Yeah, so this cooked for about 45 minutes to an hour. You can see that the outside is nice and roasted and it is soft to the touch. You can run a butter knife through it, and that's how you know it's done. We let this cool, and because it has been cooked down so much, the sugars in this are nicely caramelized. It's going to give a really beautiful taste. Now, you could do this by boiling the butternut squash, but I don't recommend that because what you end up losing is some of the nutrition because that all seeps out into the water. And on top of it, you don't get this roasted caramel-y flavor that is just so beautiful when you bake some vegetables. All right? So I'm going to actually just, you want to open up that lid? This has cooked so well that I can just peel this skin off. Now, if yours is not cooked as much, that's totally fine. I've done this before when I've cooked this less. And you just scoop it out with a spoon. It's fine either way. But this is coming out nice and in these chunks, and I'm going to add this in. And then we're going to, what are we going to do one more time?
Blend it.
Blend
Then
it.
I'll go sledding in the snow.
That's right. She's going to go
And
sledding.
We're going to bring lots of snow back to drink and to make for my mom's altar.
That's right. We're gonna make some snow water for the altar because it's just nice to have.
And some for
water.
my body.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so let's get this butternut squash in. I'm actually gonna put the whole thing in.
The whole boat?
Both of them. And you can do this in smaller quantities if you like. I like to make some of this in advance so that I have it. And it's gonna be a creamy mac and cheese sauce. There's this.
Creamier than the one you made for my birthday?
No, it's about the same. That one was baked. You can also bake it afterwards if you want to do that. You can do it either way. There's lots of different ways. So what you can do with this is you can make it in advance. You can even make the butternut squash in advance. Like you can roast it and then put this in the fridge and make the rest of the sauce another day. The other thing that you can do is make this sauce, and then as you want some mac and cheese and you want it nice and fresh, just boil up some of the pasta and then add the sauce to it. And now you got it, fresh, ready to go, and it's better than reheated.
That's all?
That is all. You want to put that cap on nicely? All right, so now we're going to blend this again. So the walnuts blended for about a minute to make that nice and liquidy, and that was in this Vitamix. You can use any high-speed blender. Like I said, if you want to use a food processor or something like that, you can always try cashew butter. All right, so we're gonna get that blending again.
All the way to 10?
Yes, all the way to 10.
Okay. Oh.
That's gonna blend for about a minute or two. So we will see you at the end of the blending again. So we have blended this for about a minute, and I had to push it down with a little tamper just to make sure that it all went down. You might need to do that in the blending, and I gave it a little taste. And I found that I wanna add a little bit more lemon juice. Nope, sorry, I should have given it to you to add. We're gonna add a little bit more salt. Right? You're gonna add some salt, just sprinkle it in a little bit. You can use your hands.
Just a tiny?
Yep, just a little bit, not super tiny. Okay, a lot more than that.
This is good?
A lot more than that. Here, let's give you a spoon. Okay, here,
How much?
Let's give you a clean spoon. That one's a nutritional yeast spoon. Okay, like maybe half a teaspoon. A little less than that. Sorry, maybe a little, because this is bigger than a teaspoon. Okay, that's good. That's perfect. And then we're going to add some more nutritional yeast. Okay, let's knock that over. All right. Okay, add a whole, so I'm adding, this would be about a tablespoon. So we added 3 tablespoons before. We're going to make this 4, and it's going to vary each time. You know, it all depends on the cook of the butternut squash and how cheesy you want to make it. All right, so we've added this in, and we're going to give it.
Cheese?
This is fake cheese. Yeah, it's vegan cheese. So we're going to give it another blend.
What do you know? It actually looks like cheese.
That's right.
Of course, I didn't pay attention to mac and cheese. It makes me feel sick.
That's right, because cheese, you know, can do a number on the digestive system. And so it's really nice to have alternatives, even if you do eat dairy regularly, just once in a while to incorporate this in. Okay, you want to pour it? So now, this is a nice thick sauce. You can change the thickness of this based on the amount of broth that you add. So I only added about 2 cups. It's good.
That's thick.
Yeah, that is thick.
And heavy.
All right.
Ooh.
It's okay. Let it go.
Heavy?
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to put this aside. We'll do this later. But you can see that it's a nice, creamy sauce. And it is perfect. You know, we use some gluten-free noodles. These are made out of brown rice, and it just makes such a beautiful mac and cheese. This is a mac and cheese that I made earlier using some old sauce that I had made.
Ooh.
And you can see that you cannot tell the difference from, you know, a regular mac and cheese. And in this, I used a fake ground meat. I used the Beyond Meat crumbles. I really like them because they do not have soy, and they don't have any other bad stuff in them. And if you're going to use like one of the purchased fake meat products, they're a really good company for that. And I also add in vegetables because I really like it. So peas, asparagus, zucchini, whatever you feel like to give it some life and some green. And I'll typically eat this over like a bed of arugula or something like that. So as I mentioned, this one was made with walnuts, and I typically make this with cashews. This one here was made with cashews. But I can tell you that I cannot tell the difference between the two in terms of the sauce and the quality. The taste is really good. What you're looking for from the nuts is that fatty flavor to give it that creamy texture, and so it's accomplished with either. So I'm actually glad that I forgot my cashews because I got to test this out with walnuts. So I highly encourage you to go ahead and try making a vegan mac and cheese because it will be such a wonderful delight. It's so great on a cold day. It's great in the summer. You're adding more nutrition to your body without the harmful effects of dairy. And so do you think you're going to try a mac and cheese like this? Maybe?
It has cheese in it.
No, there's no cheese in it. It's nutritional yeast. I know you don't like the taste of mac and cheese, so this may not be a comfort food for her, but it's definitely a comfort food for me. And it will be for children that do like, yeah, he likes it too. And it will be for children who do like mac and cheese. So I encourage you to try making this and improving your health. All right. Shall we say goodbye?
Bye.
Bye. It
It
smells.
smells good.
Yeah, it smells like garlic and mustard and lemon.